So I think we all know by now, having those of you that have watched several of my videos, that I have a bit of a peeve against some of these spiritual channels that paint this picture of spirituality and how it is and what it looks like. Excuse me. And I feel that they fail to actually point out the feelings that we might be feeling at a certain point, or they might say what feelings you might be feeling, but they won't explain what those feelings feel like. And that's the little gap that I always try and fill in, because that's what kept me, I think, stuck in the dark night of soul longer than I needed to be. And now I'm out the other side, if you like, and I can look back in, I can see all those areas so crystal clear. And that will happen to a lot of you as you come out. At the moment, you might be extremely confused, but as you start coming out, for want of a better expression, you will be able to look back and go, oh yeah, I see that now. And it's very simplified. But one of the videos that I was watching last night was someone who ultimately is spreading out a nice message. So it's never, these things are never meant as a criticism. But they're ultimately putting out a nice message about spirituality. And they were saying that a great way to deal with depression and anxiety and that is by bringing yourself into the present moment and just being here now. And I'm kind of sitting there listening to this and I'm like, yeah, I agree. I like that. But for those of us that are very advanced, if you like, at maybe even meditating and being on our own and bringing our thoughts into this place of stillness and quietness, removing our thoughts and coming into this place of stillness and quietness, that's a lot easier said than done. I wanted someone when I was really down to explain what that looks like, how it feels as I try to do that. And that's what I'm going to try and do in this video, is explain how we can become in the now, and how, by knowing that we won't always achieve that, is perfectly normal and it's not you doing anything wrong. I feel that sometimes where we can sometimes go wrong with this stuff is that where some of these people, they might forget that when you are really in the depth of dark night of the soul, or you've just had your spiritual awakening, or things in life just aren't feeling right, and you've got that feeling of confusion, you've got that feeling of despair, you've got that feeling of hurt, jealousy, anxiety, depression, anger, rage, guilt, shame, whatever it might be. We've got this whole mixture of feelings going on, and our mind is in this place of, we kind of want to be able to move forward and go forward, but we can't identify how we're going to do that. We kind of don't want to be in that matrix world, and we've realized we've seen that for what it is. We've seen a large part of it and we want to move forward. But at the same time, we kind of want to go back to how we was, because when everything was invisible to us, at least all we did was just struggle and go to work. But at least we was clear with what we were doing in life, or that's how it felt. And now we're in this mixing pot, this breeding ground, and everything's coming off of us, and we're being stripped away of our identity, and we're confused, scared, frightened, vulnerable. And we're frightened of the future and our own vulnerability, of our own abilities to self-heal. Which is why we sometimes feel this desperate need to rush off and take medicines and talk to people. It's because of this lack of belief in our own abilities to self-heal, and that lack of belief is only there because of all the conditioning that initially went on in us. And so I think where these channels say that bring yourself into the present moment, they forget that when you're feeling like that, all that stuff I just said, when you're feeling like that, to actually then say, stop thinking about that and bring yourself into the present moment, is almost insulting, thinking that people can do that. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of work. It can take years to kind of get to that point where you can, no matter what goes on in your life, you can sit, or you can walk, or you can just lie down on some grass somewhere, and you can allow the calmness and the stillness to come over you. And you can allow that to happen because you know it's safe. You know that whatever you're letting go of in that moment and not thinking about it doesn't need to be resolved there and then. Some things do, but lots of things, I'd say 90% of things, probably more than that, don't need to be resolved there and then. We can be still, we can bring a calmness to ourselves, and we can resolve those situations in their own time. And will unravel. In other words, we're not forcing to find an answer in that moment. But the thing is, that can take years to learn that, to get to that kind of point. And this is the whole point I wanted to say for you guys that are maybe trying to bring yourself into the present moment. as you're doing that, yeah, brilliant. Concentrate on your breathing. Concentrate on feeling the wind on your skin. Concentrate on trying to feel the inner body. What does that even mean? I'll explain it in a minute. Try and feel the inner body. Try and feel the throbbing that's going on in your feet, or the throbbing that's going on in your hands. Try and feel your pulses, your hearts, open your chakras up. All of that stuff is brilliant. But just know this, that while you're doing that, you probably will not, for the first however many weeks or months, sometimes years, be able to stop those thoughts. Those thoughts will come up. Any thought, that is, guys. It doesn't have to be bad thought. It could be anything whatsoever. So when I say anything, I mean you could think, oh, what was that noise? Is that someone's kettle boiling next door? Or, bloody hell, that sounded like a plane crash. So big answer, anything will come up into your head because the mind is trying to make itself relevant. It's like, hey, don't forget me. I come with this world of thoughts and this world of problems that you need to sort out. And if you let go of these, oh my God, you're going to be so vulnerable to the world. That's what it's saying to you. And it takes those little tiny steps forwards, those little practice moments of going into that part where you, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. This isn't so bad while I'm in here. And guys, the thing is, whilst you're in there, you're not thinking that. That's me trying to paint a picture of it. You're not actually thinking that when you're there. But when you come out and you look back on that little meditation session, whatever it was that you were having, sometimes just sitting there, you can look back and think, oh, yeah, I kind of went a bit more forward in that. You start to feel it. But what I wanted to get across was that what I said, but what I also wanted to get across was, whilst you are sitting there, thoughts will come up. These thoughts can be thoughts of like, I'm not doing this right. I can't stop thinking. I'm supposed to be stopping thinking. All these spiritual gurus and people tell me to stop thinking. I can't do it. I'm never going to be able to do this. My mind's too busy. The mere fact that you're there and you're trying to do it, you're trying to quieten the voice down. I'm going to explain the word trying in a minute. But you're trying to quieten the voice down means that you are moving forward. The fact that the voices are coming up, or the thoughts are coming up, those feelings are coming up, the ones of anxiety, tension, anger, frustration, you might start picking your nails or whatever you're doing while you're there, this agitation to actually want to do something is all perfectly normal to be feeling that whilst you're trying to quieten the mind. And why I say I was going to explain the word trying is because eventually you start to realise that the trying to quieten the voices, to quieten the thoughts, is actually what's preventing you from doing it. But I won't go too much into depth with that one now because it will be too confusing. I wanted to keep this really simple for those guys who are feeling down and stuck, and when they try and do the things that they're supposed to do, they feel like they're not doing that right. That's why I'm here to say you are. That when you sit quietly, or when you try and walk quietly and you try and stop your thoughts, you probably won't be able to, and that's okay. That is really okay. But if every time you do try to sit quietly, thoughts come up, you just think, oh, I'm no good at this, and you stop, that's going to keep you stuck. So that's the point there, that probably the most important part of the video is, that's the point there, that when that happens, that feeling of, oh, fuck this, I'm shit. No, go back. Go back to it and try and do it again. The trying, remember I explained about the trying, but for the video I have to use the word, so you try and do it again. You try and bring yourself back into that moment, knowing full well that the thoughts are just going to come back up. But I can almost say this with hand on heart, if you was to just persevere and just sit with your hands on your lap and just sit for 20 minutes and actually ride out whatever it was that you were feeling. Like I say don't pick your nails, because we have a habit of doing unconscious little habits that are actually distracting us away from things. To sit really still, eyes open or closed, doesn't matter, and just look at something and just sit there, give it 20 minutes, and you'll start realising, actually not too bad. It's actually not too bad. Now you could set a timer on your phone beforehand, although don't keep checking the timer, just let it tick its thing. You know, and I can almost guarantee that after 20 minutes you are a bit more relaxed. It doesn't say you become super relaxed and you become, you know, like you're floating around and all your problems are solved. No, but what it does do is it moves you forward, that little bump of, okay, that wasn't too bad. Is the answers really in that sitting still for 20 minutes a day and doing nothing? Yeah, that will propel you forward. That will propel you forward. And that was the idea of this little video. I just wanted to clear up those little myths. Oh, the thing I was going to say about feeling the inside of the body. That is the whole, you can feel the workings of like your lungs. So you can feel your air going into your lungs and filling it up. You can feel the expansion in your belly as the air goes down to there. Try and breathe into the base of the spine, you know, and you can really feel this stuff going on. The throbbing in your feet, and that you can, if you pay close attention to them, you can feel the blood rushing through your feet. I can feel it now. You can feel the blood rushing through your feet, through your hands. You can feel all of that. So in other words, I was always, when someone used to say, you feel the inside of your body, God, this is some really mystic, amazing thing that's going on. And then I realised over a couple of years that, oh no, it is just noticing that I'm here, how I feel. And you may notice that you actually become a bit more grounded. You feel grounded in your own body, like you kind of feel safe, like you're at home. That might not happen to some of you straight away. That might be, like I say, weeks or months. But some of you might find that it does happen in that first session where you're like, and some of you might find that just because I'm now saying this, that it's actually okay that when you try to be still with mind, you probably won't be able to. You might actually relax about that a bit now when you do try and sit still or meditate and know that these thoughts are coming up. And so you know, not, at least it would have alleviated the anger for you. And now all you've got to do is commit to being committed to it. And it might answer a lot of questions for you. Anyway, I wanted to do that little video because I hope that helps a little bit. Just quickly before I do go, because otherwise we all know I'll digress for hours. The knowing that you won't understand it is where you will find peace. So the knowing that you won't understand it yet is where you will find the peace. You just have to trust that these things are quite normal. And eventually, guys, you will reach a point where you can, most situations, sit down and you can find that deep place of relaxation. And that's a wonderful place when you kind of have that at your disposal. Sorry if that went a bit corny, but it felt nice. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. I hope you're having a great Thursday. I love every one of you. There was something else I was going to say, but I'll save it for another video. It's a lovely day here. Lovely breeze coming through. My van hopefully gets fixed tomorrow, so maybe over the weekend I'll be in the mountains and can try and do a video from there. Whether or not it uploads, I don't know, because I generally don't get reception, but I will do my best. Anyway, guys, love every one of you. Hi to the new subscribers who have come along, and thank you to all you guys, as always, for commenting. Peace.